I guess we'll go ahead and get going. Good evening, everyone. My name is Henry Velliker. I'm a Plan Commission member, and Mayor Smith, our Plan Commission chairman, asked that I chair the meeting today. And I said, of course. Let's see here. Let's do the roll call. The mayor is an excused absence, but we have Commissioners Gutsky, Olson, Behrens, and Waller, and Lesage with us today. And our staff person, City Administrator Jensen, who's kind of our Community and Economic Development Director for, yes, filling the role. Okay, so the agenda has been printed. Is there any additions or changes anybody would want to make? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
A motion as listed.
Second.
All right, thank you, Justin and
Yep.
Dana. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We've got two sets of minutes from a public hearing on December 4th and the meeting minutes from December 4th. We have a motion.
So moved.
Dana?
Second.
Dana first, second. Eric? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, action item, site review plan, 3H Brew LLC, and it involves a couple of parcels on Churchill Street, 804 and 810 Churchill Street, as well as 905 10th Street. I got that right, if I read that right? And this is site plan review, so this is our authority to make the final decision. We don't have to send this to council. So I guess, Aaron, you want to just set this up for us and let us
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Henry. This is Plan Commission members. You can see a staff report that begins on page 5. I want to thank Rhonda Rollins, who's stepped up in a big way in Jared's absence and helped create a lot of these staff reports. So she did prepare this, and I'll be presenting it. As Henry said, this is for what you guys would know as H.H. Hinder Brewing Company, the 810 building, which would be like their event space. Plus, when we talk about 905 10th Street and then 1018 Columbia Street, those are two lots across Columbia Street that are off-premise, but there is a CUP in place to allow for parking on those parcels to support the event space. And I would say also the brewery, to be honest, too, some overflow parking there. So there he is. Hi, Mike, we're just getting started here.
just for the minutes, Mike Stroik, who's representing as the owner of the project we're reviewing. Hey, Mike.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, take a seat wherever.
I do.
Just take a seat and I'll,
It's like a
yeah, you can sit there.
Yeah.
special chair out in the middle there.
That looks like a good, yeah, there we go. That'd be a first. So zoning for this is the B3 General Commercial District and the B1 Neighborhood District. For some reason, it looks like that. It's just circled on what's supposed to be a map, but it looks like it didn't convert for some reason. Future land use is neighborhood mixed use, so it does all work from a zoning standpoint is what you need to understand there. The proposed conditional land use, exhibit halls, we've talked about that, and public or private parking, and we'll get into like the public parking aspect and an agreement that staff is considering or suggesting, and we've talked to Mike about that. We'll get into that when we look at the actual site plan. So once we get into the compliance report, we're looking at lot standards. You'll see a number of items in this matrix that are green, and then you'll see some that are kind of yellow-ish. So there are some things that aren't specifically noted on the site plan. Many of them have been communicated with John Kinnear and Rettler and Mike, and a lot of them have been confirmed that yes, even that exact measurement of parking stall is planned, it just hasn't been noted. So you'll see conditions at the end of this matrix that says approval upon these conditions, which many of them they are already aware of. The one in here, and you'll see it come up a number of times in kind of different ways, but the one one that we've had the most conversation on is in relation to green space. Technically, per our zoning code, the suggested or the proposed development does not meet the minimum open space or green space requirements. You can see that right here on page 4. There is a requirement in the zoning code of 25% of the lot area needs to be in some sort of green space or landscaped. You can see that the calculation, if we take the entire balance of the 3 lots, is about 8.4% green space right now. In speaking with both John from Rettler and Mike, the developer, the justification for that, and he wanted to come forward and ask for this to be approved as is, due to the amount of parking that they believe that they will need for this event space. And I can let Mike speak to that in just a little bit. Let's see here. There are some other things, just pretty administrative, but detached garage, he has some plans, and I'll let Mike speak to that too. In actually a current area of green space that might be an outdoor event space, just making sure any structure that's moved or changed meets setbacks. Those are part of the conditions at the end of this. Let's see. I think everything else. Oh, and actually I'm gonna kick it to Justin to speak a little bit on the driveways and what's happening with the curbing, because there are some really wide driveways right now. Mike has agreed to help pour some curb and narrow those to make them safer. Justin, you want to talk about that? And I'll pull up the map actually while we do that.
Yeah, I was just trying to flip to a good page here. So, actually, the certified survey map on sheet 19 shows the driveway openings for the main property there. Probably a good place to start. So right now there are 4 driveways there. The one for the loading dock would be eliminated. That would, get torn out and then have a full head curb there. Everything along that road, besides the driveway openings, pretty much has a full head curb, and so that's a good configuration. We're trying to increase parking on both sides. The one nearest Churchill Street, that one is pretty tight to the road, or to Churchill Street, or the intersection, and we kind of looked at that one a little closer because typically we would not want that kind of configuration. However, it's been there quite a long time. There's not a whole lot of traffic on Columbia right now, and we have something very similar like across the street where the restaurant is within the block. So we're going to leave that one alone and just kind of monitor it. Obviously, we hope Mike has good success here and that parking lot is full, and maybe we have to think about it because it's so many cars coming in and out. But right now, we're going to leave that one alone. Now on the south side, a little bit different of a, situation. Now there is an existing couple buildings there that Mike plans to take down and then put into a parking lot. And this is probably the second or third rendition of this parking lot that I think we've seen. And between Mike and Rettler, they've made good progress in eliminating driveways. There was a few more. It was way more free-flowing, so now it's just restricted down to 2, which, again, we thought was a pretty good trade-off to what it was before. So 2 on Columbia, and then there is one, 10th Street? Yeah, so.
Isn't that 2 and 10th?
Yeah. Is it 2?
South parking lot and Columbia Street. Oh, Columbia Street's Columbia Street.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. Got it.
Yep, and then I believe the solid white line in Columbia, the south side, was going to become full head curb.
Yeah, and it might be even a higher curb for drainage. We have to work that through in the civil plan.
Yep.
And Mike,
Yes,
when you speak, can you just pull this? Actually, I see Mayor Smith Henry is now joining us virtually, so then he
okay.
can hear you too.
Okay.
So,
Welcome, Mayor. I guess he got it on mute.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi.
He woke up.
So one more note from me, and then I'll be quiet for a while. But the full head curb on the south side of Columbia will help. What's the word? Dang it! It's going to be a dramatic improvement because right now it's kind of a wide open free-for-all driveway kind of style, dive in, dive out. So this will help control the traffic in there, so, and the parking.
Justin, correct me if I'm wrong too, and it doesn't necessarily show it in the same way, but to the north of where that new curb is shown, this is existing curb. You talked about in that CSM how currently there's a driveway here too, by this patio area.
Yep.
So this, basically where you see this black line that divides the diagonal parking and the parallel parking, or the angle and parallel, that's all curb, correct?
Correct.
It's proposed to be curb.
Correct.
And then same with, to the west of that driveway.
Correct. So it's just,
That black line is all curb.
yes.
Yep.
Just like the downtown here, when you park in the angle, you know, a lot of people wait to feel that your tire on the curb. You'd have that same type of setting here.
And then
Happens.
Justin did mention this, but I want to, while I have the map up, I wanted to just bring your attention to the screen. So he talked about some of that, the buildings that'll be taken down. You'll see this dark shaded area right here that my mouse is outlining. That is really the area that will be disturbed during this. The rest will continue to keep current pavement, other than the curb being poured, and keep the current grading of that pavement. This will be disturbed, and you can see some of that is green space that is being removed and would be put into new pavement for parking.
Is that where 6 and 6 is?
Yes, that is correct. Right to the east of that would be the shaded area, yeah.
And that's,
There's a house.
that's under an acre. What are the,
1 acre triggers additional DNR reviews.
all right, but it's under, so you don't have to do that. Well, that's good. Okay.
So we had talked about, so we're at that 8-point-some% of green space. Now, we had talked about trying to pick up areas of staff of where could we get more should plan commission want to go in that direction. This is some things that I know I've had conversations with Mike about. Mike, I'll let you explain the reasoning for why you feel like that is not advantageous for your proposed development. But we looked at right here potentially, you can see where my mouse is, potentially adding just a sliver of green space here as a buffer between that and what is the school district property. Now this one, Mike, tell me, my understanding is, we have talked about internally about potentially a green space here that would act as almost like a patio gathering area for your indoor, outdoor.
Well, the front
garage
there
doors.
has a 12-foot slab that you have your arrow on right now across the front.
Yeah,
And that will get some planters similar to the beer garden, only a different style to kind of go with the different look of the 810 building.
okay.
The parking in front, as we evolve, that straight-in parking in the front, maybe that should be angled just so it works a little better and the lights don't shine right in the building. But those are minor details that, we can discuss and give you our thoughts on it, why and stuff, but that's a minor detail. The islands that are marked out in the corners there, I'd rather put some planters in there and put them away. Because if we curb that and try to plant stuff in there, salt, winter, Wisconsin, it just won't hold up and flourish. Where a planter will, well, you've seen our planters. They just look better, and it's a lot cooler. It's a summer in Wisconsin thing. Instead of a tree that doesn't want to grow very well and some grass that's brown, and so then I'd rather do that and not have to plow around those islands too. That's always an issue.
Yes.
Clearing, because in a situation like this, just like your city hall here, you want to keep the pavement as clean as you can in the winter so people can move through easily. We've combined 5 properties here to create what you're seeing now. So we've tried to be proactive about everything. I don't know where else we go from here. We took both buildings down on the corner of Columbia and 10th. One was a house, the other was I think originally the Dushek trucking office, and then was the bus scheduling office. So we took that down, and then the building in the new paved area is the 1010 Columbia Street building. We're also going to take that down to create some additional parking, and then keep what is the 1018, which is right behind the restaurant. I mean, the alternative, like if you're downtown, you don't have to put this effort into it. They push it on to you, the city, to give them enough parking to run their businesses. You know, we're trying not to do that for two reasons. One is to be more convenient and safer for our people. We'd rather not see them out on Churchill or trying to because you can park on both sides of Churchill. We'd rather not see them out there crossing Churchill and stuff like that. In the daytime, it's not so bad, but at night, you know, it becomes a bit of an issue, and people aren't used to seeing people crossing Churchill. So also into the neighborhoods, those are parkable streets too. And the less we have on site, the more they're gonna push into the neighborhoods. And it'll work. It won't be as acceptable, I would think, to the neighborhood as parking close like this or keeping them as much as we can away from the neighborhood. And we fully agree that we have to put some buffers along 10th Street. And also something came up about the house to the north. And we've had conversations with them. We actually helped them. We split the cost of the fence in their backyard to shield them from the brewery and, you know, contain their dogs, and they were very excited about that. So we've talked to them about either landscaping or extending that fence along the south side of their house, or a combination of the both. So we're working with them too. We have a great relationship with the food pantry. We're using their parking and we do things for them. We actually have a great relationship with the school too, and I'm sure some of our parking will spill into there. And that's one of the reasons, if you go back to the far south, what you don't see there in that dirt area beyond the existing pavement that shows on there is the school's new building. And they actually have parking stalls along the north side of their building there. And if we try to cut pavement out of ours, you know, right now they cross through ours when we're not busy and we're not there, and it just makes a nice flow. If we try to put any type of green space in there, I'm afraid it'll get driven across, it'll turn into mud, it won't, as far as absorbing, it's gonna be short-term if it does, because, you know, a small area like that'll get some sediment, plus things aren't pitched towards it. And I'd really rather not tear out the whole area to try to get it to pitch that way. Right now, it all wants to go towards Columbia and towards 10th. And we proposed some other drainage to capture our new area there and tie into the city's storm sewer system along 10th Street on the west side of the new parking area that we're showing.
Mike,
So-
you mentioned the planters.
Yeah.
How many are you planning to add as a result of this?
You know, we don't have that exact number. You know, it'd be 2, 3, 4. I'm sure Jackie will wind up with something, you know, by the old loading dock area too. That's a patio. That'll get a railing around it yet. You know, we like what you've seen us operate for a few years now. So we like it to look nice. We like nice things in there. We put, I mean, I have to be honest with you, this one was hard on both of us. It's a big building and really different than anything we've done. So we've had a year of hard labor and spent a lot of money, but you all have to come and see it because the details on the inside, Jackie really went out of her way on this one. It's extremely unique and well done. We used a lot of old things from the community in there. There's parts of the church in there, a few parts of the church, some parts of the old flour mill from the treatment plant in there. There's old paver bricks out of Milwaukee. We have a lot of pretty cool things in there. So I'm excited for the community to see it, and everything in there is custom. So I think we've gone out of our way to be a good neighbor We get along with the whole neighborhood there. We've talked with them, if there's something that bothers them, they come to us and we work it out. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of effort to try to bring people into Waupaca, and if they can't park decent, it cripples it. And the only other place to go would be Ruby's, and that's just expensive and a terrible building, and all of you should have put the screws to them when they get their conditional use permit up on the other side of town, so you could have acquired that at a reasonable rate, and we could talk about something different right now.
Henry, you mind if I ask?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Mike, you mentioned, if we back up a little bit, you mentioned at one point this was talked about, some of these islands being raised and curb and green, and you talked about the challenges with plowing that. And
I'm against it. If none of you know, in my real life, I'm a utility contractor and a grading contractor. So I've built subdivisions and parking lots and roads and treatment plants and all kinds of stuff for, good Lord, 35 years now I've been in business. So we've seen all this stuff. We've seen what works. We've seen what doesn't work. We've seen how people function, how stuff looks after it's aged for a while. Curbed islands get beat up, chipped up. The plantings in them don't hold up. You have to salt the heck out of stuff in order to keep it safe. And they're just not conducive to each other.
And so, Mike, in staying, and honestly, in staff conversations, we understood that. Obviously, we have a public works director here that is in charge of quite a bit of plowing. One thing that did come up, Mike, in our conversations, and where we try to really get green spaces along the perimeter as like a barrier from developments. And we looked at this as potentially being the least impactful from a park, since this is all parallel parking. There's going to be curb here anyway, from both a plowing and not taking away too much parking standpoint, is replacing that area with curb.
Well, and again, we took properties that were basically pavement. We're not trying to make the neighborhood bad, we're trying to make the neighborhood better, but something like this can't function well if it doesn't have parking. I'll use the Wheelhouse, for example, very popular place, and if I'm driving out that way and people are walking around that corner on the road to try to get to the auxiliary parking, that just makes me a little nervous. I don't want to see stuff like that. I'd like people to be as close as possible and have an easy walk. I think it's critical to the popularity of this corner. And our whole goal is to make that corner popular for the event space and the brewery. The brewery's still the primary driver. The event space is complementary to it. And the brewery, to be honest with you, won't outlive Jackie and I, because we work for nothing, and we've invested a lot of money in it to make it what it is. And now we've done this to try to make this whole corner profitable and pay for itself so it lives beyond us, is the goal. Honestly, a few years ago, we've had that building since we opened. We thought maybe we just take our blow and be done with it as we get older and go on. But as time went on, we wanted to finish it out. Our plan evolved. It went from, more of a single entrance in the front to the opening the whole front up the way it is, and making it more like the tent for the outside facility. I don't know if any of you made it to Hinderfest this year. Beautiful day, fenced off the front, so it was set up the same way as having the tent there. Only the building became the tent, the overhead doors were open. It couldn't have been better. It all worked well, and people were parked everywhere, including Dollar General calling us and saying, hey, you're filling our parking lot. So people didn't fully understand our concept. We tried to make it real visible so they can see it. from anywhere on the property, so they know how to get to the parking, they know it's there. We tried to direct them around behind the 1010 building. It just was hard to push them that way. So they filled Ruby's lot, they filled Dollar General, they parked on Churchill Street. So anything we can do, and not without a financial cost to us. We bought the properties, we're doing all the improvements ourselves. We're not asking for any money. We actually, to help justify anything, out of the 5 properties there, 3 of them weren't paying property tax when we bought them. So now they're on the tax rolls too. So a lot of wins and a little less grass.
I got a question. You had mentioned site civils coming. So is Rattler going to
Yes,
expand on these plans? Okay.
yes,
And then basically you, Heartland Construction, is going to be the contractor.
yep.
Okay. So that as that gets developed, then the spacing as far as parking lot size, we have a standard, I think it's 9 by 18, drive lane size, which should be at least 22, 24, like will all be fleshed out at that point. So if there's any concerns as far as like the configuration or the tightness, turning radius, that would all,
Yes.
I guess, be worked out
Yes.
during that point.
Yes. And John's pretty adamant about trucks and Suburban, stuff like that, being able to park, which I am too.
Right.
I hate when you can hardly get out of your vehicle or you can't back up and get out, safely. So I totally agree with that.
The patio where the old loading dock was, like you
Yep.
built that slab,
Yep.
right? How far off the building is that? Do you know? Do you have a measurement off the top of your head?
Oh, the distance of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess what I'm looking at on this white square juts kind of into where I would see as like a drive lane. And it's
There's-
not quite 2 lanes through there.
Yeah, we left it so there was plenty of room to drive.
I don't know if there's a scale on there, so that's kind of why I'm asking and brought up the civil.
Yeah,
'cause-
we did consider that. I can't recall exactly what the length of it is, but we kept it at a spot where we had the room. It's probably one-way traffic through there. I envision the traffic more coming through there instead of going back to the front from there. I don't know that we want, we have, right now we have some parallel along the sidewalk along Churchill. We were gonna eliminate all of that, including in front of the brewery. Cause it just, we had one mishap and actually somebody backed into our truck. But other than that, I don't know of any, but it's just not, it's something waiting to happen out front there.
I have a question. In terms of our zoning, you have 166 stalls. Is that the minimum that we're required by their square footage?
Good question, Henry. So
And you, excuse me, and you took it as the full project area, and we're at 8.2%, which is a sticking point. And just wondering if the calculation could have been made on each individual piece to make that ratio work a little better. Oh.
So both good questions. I'll hit the parking one first. So when we look at the total balance, I can't remember, a year or 2 ago, Jared, when he was here, brought forward and Plan Commission and then City Council approved some changes to the way we do parking minimums. Really, it has been it is a thing right now statewide and nationally to remove parking minimums, and that is exactly what we did as a city. And we leave it to the developer to make a justification for the amount of parking that they need. And that allows Plan Commission or City Council to deem that, in this case, Plan Commission to deem that reasonable or not. So that's the parking question. As far as the choosing to wrap all of these parcels into one calculation, we knew that it was, if we did each individual one separately and have it be a calculation, it'd be much more difficult to meet. So this was the more advantageous for the developer, I should say, in this case.
So it seems like all the other comments that staff has made that are in brown, yellow, are all being dealt with through the conditions and/or will be worked on. So really, the essence of our discussion is really the open space requirement versus the parking. That's what we've got to work through, as I'm trying to parse it out. And I guess I want to read something for the commission to help us figure this out. And this is under location, density, and design considerations. Site plan review should be used to ensure compatibility with adjacent neighborhoods, including appropriate measures to transition from commercial and medium-density residential to adjacent single-family neighborhoods. And I'm speaking as a commission member. The parking, this is commercial corridor, right? And these uses are allowed in a commercial corridor. We've eliminated, the developers have eliminated one residential property and we'll do another. So it's feeling more, to me, more commercial than it was 5 years ago. And parking's needed in a commercial area. So it seems like we have to find some, at least for me, I want to find accommodation. This is a trend to try to streamline zoning ordinances, right? They're our own worst enemy sometimes against common sense and trying to work with the developer. So I don't know if there's conditions we can do. I'm hearing during the seasons, there's going to have plenty of planners, and there's ways you're going to want to make this attractive.
More than I'd like, but it's up to Jay.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
And, middle of winter, landscaping, what is that? 6 months of year, you're not appreciating that, but you're going to have events year-round.
Right.
So the other, and I'll open it up for some comments. The last thing I found, and I know we have to have, I guess these are rules, but I'd rather look at them as guidelines. But it just seems real interesting. If you have open space, a lot, 20 to 30,000 square feet, you need 10% non-pervious or landscaped area. You go up 1 square foot more at 30,000 and 1 square foot, now you're 2.5 times the requirement. So, I don't know, just on the face of it, that doesn't feel proportional to me, but it's our rules, So I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't go back and kind of look at that open space again, because I know we looked at it a year ago, right? We think relaxed it a year ago even. So, I don't know, that's enough said. Does anybody want to comment
I got a question.
further? Yeah?
Do you own the backside of, the south side of 1018?
No, I tried to buy that.
They won't sell that? What do
No.
they use that for? The restaurant owns that? Seems like it's just a wasted space.
And the door's open on it. I told him, he's still got those trucks in and out of there.
That was on your reference.
And I think he's got another parcel across town that he wants to do something with trucks, and until he can or somewhere else, he doesn't wanna, and because when we looked at closing up some of his entrances and stuff like that, well, then he wanted to take some pine trees down and be able to drive through there and everything, and I said, well, that doesn't really mix with people walking around.
Okay.
To run a truck through there. So
I'll just look at it.
they're very nice people. We have a good relationship with them, but they're just not willing
Not
to
willing
sell it now.
All right, I thought that would definitely add some more spaces.
I agree.
No.
I tried a
Well, it
couple
kinda sticks
times.
out like it would be the obvious choice.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that answers that.
And I'm open to suggestions for, talking about it's up to the developer to decide how many stalls they need. I'd like to have more.
Yeah.
Because a nice building that people can't park near or get to really loses it. Yeah, just being honest and straightforward about it. People want a convenience, they want it safe, they want to be able to get to where the event is or what's going on. We all do. So I know it's outside what your criteria it is, but I think criteria is a guideline. And I think some exceptions should be made here, for a few reasons. Who shows up in Waupaca and does this, except some guy a little out of his head, So it needs some parking space. And if you have a better idea, or it can help me get rubies and share some of that cost or something, I'm open.
Mike, I do want to touch on one last landscaping-related thing. One of the conditions in this is that in the green space that does exist, our ordinance also requires street trees be planted. Like, for example, if you look where my arrow is here, bordering Columbia Street and then 10th Street, and then it would be here again.
Well,
in that
there
green
are,
space.
that lot on the south side there, north side, has existing trees all around it. We plan to add something, and we'll do a landscape plan along Columbia. Because our plan for that, so everybody knows, is that would be a spot where somebody could have an outdoor wedding. It says venue, outdoor venue, we're not looking to have parties out there or anything like that. But the garage was there and it'd be easy enough to move, so we thought we'd take that closer to the lot line, spin it around so we could store stuff in there for the weddings or whatever happens on there. We're envisioning some type of trellis thing out there with vines on it or what have you. We have some old things that we've bought already, some old decorative copper downspout stuff, and so that would be what that is, and it would have a buffer around it, and we wanted to keep the existing trees. And then on the other side of Columbia, we're open to what your thoughts are on there. Do you want something denser? Do you want street trees? Do you want a small berm? Do you want whatever?
Okay, and right now the code states every 35 feet a tree, and then you'd work with our forester on like approved tree lists and things like that.
That's fine.
And if there's existing trees there, that would count towards that.
Yeah, and we kept all the trees too, between us and Rose Garden, between 1018 and Columbia. So we wouldn't do anything with any of those, and kept all the pines behind 1018 too. And we can still put snow in there, have a place to push snow. And with the older mature trees on the back lot of behind the 810, we can push snow in around that too, and they'll be fine with it. So we tried to keep that the same. They're not the most desirable species of tree, but we're open to all species.
And then the last thing that I think I need to bring, it's a little different condition that we're not used to seeing. I just need to bring this to Plan Commission's attention. You'll notice here that some of the parking that's being proposed is half on city right-of-way and half on private property. So in speaking with our attorney, and we spoke with Mike and John about this, we would create an easement that would basically allow for this public-private parking. That would also have conditions on if we needed to use it for public use at times, those conditions would be on too. So,
Well, I think you should, like 4th of July parade or something, people could park all over there. That'd be a good spot for it.
right.
What is that? It seems like a wider street, doesn't it? Is it the typical right-of-way?
Yeah, the right-of-way width is 66 feet, which is the black line. Pavement, curb to curb, what the heck was that?
No, that's fine.
No, I'll get it here in a second.
Okay. So that is a condition
It is a condition.
within the, okay. So we've covered that.
And we worked together with staff to get that parking in there, and then pinch with the striping, pinch the lanes off at both ends of Columbia, which just slows traffic down. We don't get, traffic through there is pretty slow, but it just creates a little more caution for everybody when they pull into there.
Well, does anybody have any questions? Are we ready for action? I think, I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I'm okay with this. And I don't know, it's my reasoning here, so nobody has to agree, but our applicant has talked about the investment he's made. There's a lot of win-wins. The city, I don't know, we have the luxury, if we were in a big development corridor and people were knocking our doors down, maybe we have a little bit more justification to, hone in if we're more of an urban area and more dense all over, you know what I mean? So I just think landscape is important. And why don't we have more street trees just along Churchill anyway?
Because it's narrow terrace, they won't grow very well there. There's a lot of pavement, overhead lines.
Well, maybe as that corridor develops, it's the TIF district, eventually we can maybe address some of the landscaping and along that whole corridor. And again, our task when reviewing this, and I read it, is compatibility. And I don't see that the parking situation is going to is not compatible with the adjoining areas, I guess. So for me, that's something. But I don't know if everybody's ready to take some action, or do we want some more questions?
I understand all the reasonings, and I think that there are very good explanations for the lack of what we're asking for. My only comment is, my only comment is that we need to be prepared for future applicants or past applicants that we've maybe made stricter guidelines or made them do stricter things. We just need to be prepared for what that reasoning is and how we need to prepare for that. So that's my only comment. I completely understand everything that you're saying and the reasons that you've done what you've done. And obviously as a community, I think you've built a beautiful, beautiful thing for us, and it's very appreciated. So
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the thing we always run into, right? Precedent, but every project is its unique thing. And
Well, something I just thought of now is something really unique here that you don't get. Everybody comes here and promises you to do something. We already did it. So we could go walk through it before we vote if you'd like to. And you're all invited to January 28th.
of course, I'll be
We're
gone.
bringing a retired Navy SEAL in, motivational speaker that I heard somewhere. So he's going to talk in Slinger midday to my guys, and then it's open to the community. And then that evening at 6:30, it's a free event. It's open to the community. We're going to have our people there. It's good for everybody. He's that guy that can talk to the whole spectrum of people, and he's interesting and creates a good, confident feeling in you, just that we can accomplish a lot and we can endure a lot, and we are a lot tougher than we think we are. So I hope you know somebody that should be there, or if you want to be there, you're all welcome to.
Okay. Mayor Smith, I think you have a question for us or a comment?
Yeah, Henry, thank you. Didn't want to interrupt anybody, and sorry I'm not there for this. I do want to just weigh in a little bit here. First of all, I think we would all like to see both more green space and more parking for Mike, and obviously that's not something that's going to happen. I do think it's important, though, two things. I think it's important that whoever makes the motion should include the reason why we are not meeting the green space requirements. And I'm not sure how you word that, but that should be, if you're to that point where you think you're okay with the green space he has, you should have your discussion now on why we don't think he should have that much green space. And then number two, I think, and not tonight, obviously, it's not on the agenda, but in future meetings, maybe when we get a planner, if we get a planner, we should have the discussion about green space and how green space can be different in different locations throughout our community. Henry, I think you touched on that. It's, green space on South Main Street would be a lot different than green space on Churchill Street. It would be different. But again, I think let's be careful here. Let's make sure we can, and Angela brought this up, really. Let's make sure that we can explain this away why we said, okay, he doesn't have to meet that green space requirement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, you want to talk a little bit about rationale for not?
Well, in this case, isn't the green space that's already green space there going to remain green, and what's already blacktop and concrete going to remain the same? I mean,
And/or a building's already on it.
right. I mean,
There's no green.
it's not like
He's taking away.
blacktop and over everything the green space where those houses are is pretty much remaining green, right?
Well, in all honesty, on the north side of Columbia, there's a house gone that is now all green, so that added to it. And then on the south side of Columbia, there was the office there and some grass around it. So where the 1010 is, there's no green space with that, but the office had some green space around it. So we have reduced it, but honestly not greatly, because we traded the spots on either side of Columbia.
I mean, in my mind, we're trading green space for safety of people that are going to be going to these events. So maybe we phrase it in that regard, right? That it's a safety factor. We don't want people to be parking on Churchill and crossing Churchill that maybe, have a little alcohol in their system or whatever. That's a busy street.
Right.
And you're trying to keep people on your side of the street, right? So
Right.
maybe we just say the uniqueness of this project and the factor of safety for all the people attending these, and that's the reason that we're giving up green space for parking. I don't know.
Well, and I think also too, compatibility. You want to be a good neighbor. You want to maximize your parking. That doesn't mean that some events might have some spillover on the Columbia on the street, but to minimize the impact to the neighbors
Right.
Yeah.
consistently, trying to maximize parking makes some sense for them.
Right, we don't want that 10th Street full of cars either, because then that's going to get people maybe upset.
And
Or I
it-
meant 10th
it
Street,
will
I'm
be
sorry. Get my
if there
streets
isn't
correct.
enough parking.
Yeah. So maybe, yeah.
Safety and being a good neighbor, that's why we're giving up the green space.
Well, and maybe as a commission, we got to rethink that whole open space, as the mayor discussed, maybe how we do that. And try to get away from a cookie cutter for all our districts. Which it is a cookie cutter pretty much, right?
I think, and to your point too, I think that's a great point. The fact that it moves up 2.5 times with
Right.
square foot, take a look at that. I think we can absolutely do that as a staff and a commission. I would also add, if someone does make that motion as being discussed, just please add with also all the conditions that are outlined in the staff report.
And again, Mike, you've reviewed all those and you're fine.
I don't know how I'd say it.
Yeah.
Henry, just go ahead and repeat everything we just said.
Well, I don't think the chair can make a motion.
Oh, no, you're a voting member, you can.
Brian, can the chair make a motion?
You can. The mayor is actually a voting member of the City Planning Commission, so as acting as the chairman, yes, you can.
Okay.
They didn't have to put that pressure on you, though, Henry.
It's squarely on him now.
No kidding. No, I struggle with this because, you know, when I was reading it, we have to not disregard our rules. But sometimes these rules are our own worst enemy, and there's got to be a balance here somehow.
We're bending that.
Within, right, and I think the mayor's guidance on the justification, let's get that out there. Okay.
You want me to take a kick at the cat, Henry? For you?
You can't say that.
Is that a bad word?
I think we've already established that. It's not a statement.
That's a Henryism.
Yeah, it is. I use that a lot, and I think it's supposed to be kick the can, kick at the can or something, I don't.
So, how about,
Go ahead.
should I make a motion, or should I just try to
Commissioner-
jog your noggin?
Well, I've got an idea of what I would say.
We'll
but
see if you get a second,
All right.
Okay.
one of you.
I will make a motion to approve the site plan with all the conditions and report, making an exception to green space requirements to reduce safety factors with spillover parking on Churchill Street and reduce nuisance factors with spillover parking on 10th Street.
I think you meant to
know
enhance
if that's-
safety.
Right.
You meant to enhance safety.
And two.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, well, I think
Yeah,
that got the
Do
safety.
you like that?
Um,
I'll second it. I thought it sounded good.
and you, in your motion, you meant to talk about the compatibility of the parking in the neighborhood along 10th Street.
Yeah, he said the spillover, right?
I'll reread it now that I adjust. I
Gotcha.
will amend my motion to say approve with all the conditions and report, make an exception to green space requirements to enhance safety factors with spillover parking on Churchill Street and enhance, that should be reduce,
To avoid spillover? Or,
to enhance safety factors. Can I strike my motion?
Okay, so parliamentary procedure, you got to really kind of second him to amend it.
yeah.
Right. So you're okay with him amending it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
We're wordsmithing it.
All right, here's my amended motion. Approve with all the conditions of report, period, making an exception to green space requirements by enhancing safety by eliminating spillover parking on Churchill Street and reduce nuisance complaints by reducing spillover parking on 10th Street.
I'll second that.
I think that works. Okay, everybody heard the motion. Is there any further discussion? I think that's what I gotta say. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, I guess we don't need a roll call vote, it's just a voice vote, right? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign, okay, motion carries. All right,
Thank you all. We'll make you proud.
thank you for all the investment you're making here, Mike.
Yes, thank you.
And
And
adding to
the-
our livability, it's really important.
It,
Thank you.
it's pretty stunning. I hope you all come and take a look
Yeah.
at it. It almost killed us, but it really looks,
Hopefully it's all worth
You
it.
don't have any more gray hair. I don't.
yeah. Well, thanks to my dad, I have hair. And, but it took a toll. But I'm seriously about the 28th, wonderful speaker. My little spiel is if you struggle to get out of bed in the morning and go on with your day, or you're trying to do your next corporate takeover, he's got something for you to inspire you a little bit. We all need some of that.
All right.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
invite.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, everyone, thanks. That was a great discussion. Item number 4, we're not doing any action and talking to Aaron. This is just discussion. New Day Planning Contract. Aaron, is this you, Aaron?
Yeah, it
okay.
is. Thank you, Henry. I just wanted to bring this to Plan Commission. This would be a contract that City Council would eventually vote on. But it's a very much a Plan Commission topic and would be a Plan Commission involved effort because it involves looking at the land use and future land use map along the easternmost Highway 10 interchange. So you'll see in here, there's a feasibility assessment agreement with New Day Planning. Her name is Tricia Braun, and it's for $25,000. This effort is, if I back, I'm going to actually pull up the land records viewer here. So if you look on the screen, you can see obviously airport here, Fleet Farm here. There has been a request for change in zoning on a parcel out here from, it's currently B4 commercial, and their request has been to change it to industrial. We have had some internal discussions. We think that may make some sense to change it to industrial. It has, a lot of that's been sitting vacant in its commercial state for, in some cases, well, I guess forever, if you count that. But we also do not want to take a change like that lightly. For example, if you were to just change it to industrial in our current industrial zoning, it may allow for a scrapyard right on the entrance of our city, very visible from Highway 10. And is that what people want to see? So, that brings in, like, do you create a separate zoning district because of that? That's different and is a little more pick and choosy when it comes to industrial. We also don't know for sure if changing it to industrial will be some silver bullet to attract development. Is there a chance that if you change it to industrial, it sits vacant for another 20 years? Sure, there is. However, Tricia Braun has a lot of connections with WMC. She's very tied into the industrial world, not only in Wisconsin, but also the Midwest. And she has tools and processes in which she hopes to walk through with our staff and with elected officials to really give ourselves a better idea of, are we more likely to be successful in attracting development if it's industrial rather than commercial? And if so, what considerations do we need to take? So as far as paying for this, this is probably going to be coming from general fund reserves, which is not something necessarily Plan Commission needs to worry about right now, but for those council members who are on here, we would explain that more at a council meeting. So ultimately, internally, we thought that we want to make decisions that could alter very much the aesthetic and fabric of a prominent place in the community with as much data available to us as possible. Justin, Mayor, do you have anything to add to that?
I have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I was muted again, so just talking to myself. I think the only thing I want to add to that is that corridor has been vacant for quite a while, and I think, we've had some interest, and it's all over the board on whether it's residential, retail, industrial, light, heavy industrial, and so I think we really need some help in guidance there. And it's a very important part of coming into Waupaca from the east side of coming from Appleton into east side of Waupaca. And so to me, it seems like it makes a lot of sense to get some help with this. And I know Erin probably didn't touch on this individual herself and what her contacts are throughout the Midwest, but that's what really got me interested in looking at this contract.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. to be honest with you, just in having this conversation with Tricia and preparing for this, a proposal came to our doorstep via her about a large development that's looking to relocate with the terms of wants to be within 30 to 40 miles of the foundry. Well, she's very tied into that. We may not have even known about that. We were able to submit some things for that just because of that. So that's just a little example of that, those connections.
Yeah, I'm guessing, Aaron, that you were able to maybe check a reference or something, another community that she's worked in.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's maybe has a
So that-
existing reputation.
So she does have an existing reputation, but to that point, yes, her references have nothing but glowing things to say about her, but this is actually a new venture for her. So she is looking to, she's starting this New Day Consulting. We would be one of the first for this type of work.
So I have a general comment. So with River North, so everybody thinks of that as our industrial park. Well, it really was our business and technology area. It was not solely zoned industry. There was some industrial zoning there, but there was also a mixture of some light residential and various B districts, which is evident by Carousel and Sunny Day and ABC Computer. I mean, there was a mixture there. Well, with River North coming in, I think there's an assumption that we just lost all of our industrial area, and now we are pumping this residential area. So very soon here, like the balance of industry is going to go down, residential is going to go up, and that's going to be an issue for the city. And I think that's kind of where the assumption of we need to find new industrial zoning area has come from. Well, it sounds like a good idea. We don't want to be too reactionary. On the other hand, we have received a couple other, I guess, interests of properties by the airport, by the interchange. We know people want easy access on and off the freeway, and they want to be able to get up and go, and they like that 15, 20,000 cars in front of their business. So there is some interest for them bigger boxes out there. But I think as far as the city goes, we see there's some opportunity, but we don't want to be too reactionary. So maybe this is a good way to approach it of let's get some information from some experts, and then we can make way better educated decisions.
Well, and from someone who is, intimately involved with the processes and what people are looking for, but she's pretty much focused industrial entirely.
Her
business.
Yeah, her forte and her connections are in the industrial realm. Also, Henry, and everyone, one thing to note too, yes, like you can see here on the map, the shade, obviously the kind of the shaded gray is city limits. It should be noted though that with our recent sewer expansion, we prepped it to bore underneath Highway 10 and serve this area with sewer. So when we look at we'll probably also take a look at extraterritorial zoning for the potential of like a future annexation. But obviously this is a lot of land right there that borders the city as well.
Yeah, Justin, you were kind of reading my mind a little bit when you were commenting, because I'd like to know what the trend is now. Are governments going out and buying vacant land and developing them for industrial, or do you zone them, let them be in private hands, and maybe create a TIF district around it to incentivize it? What is that trend? I don't know. I mean, 30 years ago, the mayor, I think you were on council when they bought the Borkert land, right? To expand the whole east side. I mean, that was hundreds of acres, I think, that were purchased. The city owned it. So, yeah.
Yeah, good question. And I don't know if we can answer that. I don't know.
Well,
Off the top of my
what
head,
the
but I've heard a lot
process,
of it, right? That's
well,
the
that's
process of
one of
stuff.
many questions that I'm sure can help us get answered.
So anyway, I don't need an action, but happy to answer if you guys have other questions. I would expect this to go to city council in the near future.
It's not coming back here just to council.
Plan was just to go to council.
Okay.
Try to answer all questions here.
Okay. If there's no other comments on that, we'll move to reports, development update.
Yeah, I'll just give a very, very quick development update. As we close out 2024, this year was a record year for building permit fees. I think I said this in the budget process. We had a ton of building projects, whether it be alterations, new housing developments, whatever it might be. Waupaca County doing their project, we had the behavioral health at Theta Care in the recent, but sometimes not all these are for-profit or taxable parcels, so it doesn't always result in net new construction in that. But nonetheless, obviously the one-time permit fees come in from that. So it's good to see a lot of investment continuing to happen in 2024. Right now, we're in development agreements, 3 different development agreements that will equal over 230 units of housing when it's all said and done. One with Ticor, one with Mosaic for River North Cottages, which is a WIDA project, and then of course one downtown, which you guys see kind of progress a little bit more every day. Just got word from Ticor that the road is done. When I say that, I mean it's prepped for, it could, if the weather was better, it could get curbed and paved today, but obviously we need to wait for that to happen. Utilities are done for that road that will support the single-family housing. I do think it's important, and I mentioned it a little bit just in the past, the previous conversation, but when opportunities do come up in which we know that maybe some large industrial or commercial development has an interest in at least this general area of the state, specifically this one that had a criteria of being within 30 to 40 minutes of the Waupaca Foundry, staff does try to get as much information as they can, work with potentially, in this case, private landowners that have the criteria or the characteristics of that property that these people are looking for. So in this case, there was actually some conversations between staff, private landowners, and 2 submittals were made on 2 different parcels within the city for this. Now, there's a lot of, I still think those are tough to come by, but I think Planning Commission should know that those are efforts that are being made too. We talk about housing a lot, but some of that commercial and industrial stuff is happening. So I think that's it from just a summary of development at this time, and hopefully we have another successful year in 2025.
Anyone have questions for Aaron? On that, I go. All right. Well, I think we're at the anointed hour on number 6. Is there a motion?
Hey, Henry, can I
Oh, I'm sorry.
step in just real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I mean, I appreciate City Planning Commissioner members for attending the meeting and everything, and really appreciate that. But I got a chance to see Angela when she talked, and Angela, it's great to have you back. I wish I could be there to give you a big hug.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Good to see you.
All right. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Eric, second.
So moved.
Justin, a second. All in favor, say hello.
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 Say hello. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 6:24 p.m.